Hey everyone, welcome back. So for this video, I'm going to be taking looks at some model kits of mine that I showed in one of my videos for starting the month of September. And I was going through, seeing if anyone suggested anyone who was interested in some kits. And there was one guy by the name of Fred Basic. I don't know if you're on here, but he's interested. Seeing that he liked these two kits here, the Brooks, first off is the Richard Brooks 1971 Dodge Charger Daytona NASCAR, which this one here's I believe a 1972 kit, but it's around that same era as that when Dodge ended up getting the restrictions and they couldn't race the engines like the 440s. So it had the tiny 305, which I don't think was in any other Dodge vehicles. So there's that. Plus this Advent Revell Porsche 911 from 78. Now both these here are quite old kits that I had that aren't fully complete, so we're missing a few parts. So on the Charger here, I got this at an antique store for $10. Ended up finding another kit and managed to get the two for $15. But this was mostly, I would think mostly for if you're a box collector, just for the box art. But the one problem with the kit is a lot of it was already pre-assembled. So, and the body was already pre-painted. Then this here was me testing out with some thinners, just to see if it's possible to get rid of the paint, and which it did work, but didn't do a whole lot more testing besides that. As you can see, not a lot of it was painted or done correctly, and the kit was also missing the decals that came with it. But luckily enough, it did have the instructions, which is nice. Which amazingly haven't fallen apart. But this kit here is a little bit of a different one, as I can assume this would have been based on a much earlier build, as on the instruction sheet it shows that the engine that's in it is a 426 Hemi, which this car, as shown on the box, had the 305. So probably using the similar instructions as previous kits, but just showing how, but just redesigned so for this kit. Then here's the small block. So with the engine there was just the block with the transmission and timing cover. So not a lot to it. Then there was quite a few pieces that were in here, like there was still some of the chrome off the chrome tree that hadn't been taken off. Some extra sprue. Luckily, there was both the front and rear window that were in really good shape, that weren't damaged. And then there was a few other parts here that were painted up, but not installed onto the car. Then we have the front and rear axle that were already started, that were already built up, but apparently the kit here was missing the rubber tires when I got it, which is unfortunate to say the least. But I do know that I have some stuff that will work for these tires, so I'm happy about that. Then we also got here the nose cone and the front and the hood, which or streak painted. Oh yeah, and I was messing around with it a while ago, and ended up having the front off the monogram 55 Ford, and found out that this fits perfectly inside, but guess I forgot to take that out. So afterwards I will put this back into the correct parts bin. So the front end would fit on like so. Now you see it doesn't have the rear spoiler attached. Now that's because I do have it, but it's in one of my parts bins and I didn't think about searching for it until now. But probably not going to bother. So yeah. Then you got a bunch of pieces like the rear deck, the rear paneling, and the floor and the firewall and pedal package. So there's that. What I'm kind of curious about is that a lot of the stuff is either molded in black and white, which I'm really surprised about, since a kit like this old, it would be only molded in one color. So my guess is that there was multiple different color molded parts, but I'm not entirely sure on that. As I was saying, yeah, it's strange to see a couple different to see part colors. Okay, so here we have, so here's the engine heads that, unlike the engine itself that was molded in black, these surprisingly are molded in white. So I'm starting to think that there was probably some parts that were molded in black, some that were molded in white, but I haven't built enough of these vintage NASCAR kits to say for sure. Then I have here the really nice racing steering wheel, which I'm surprised this kit still has. Then here we have the valve covers that would go for the engine. So unlike how on the instructions it was shown a Hemi instead of an overhead cam engine, so there's that. Then you got stuff like shock towers, struts, all that good stuff. Fan belts, which just be able to go on like so. Probably need a little bit of glue to hold everything together, but it's pretty much a lot of it. And then for the chassis, I think one of the big things on this that was caused this kit to get put away was that the chassis itself, which, if you could tell, it's a little bit wonky, which is really frustrating, I can assume. So as you can see, it doesn't look correct. So the reason behind this is that I was experimenting with the parts and found that if I took the car body, placed it on backwards on the chassis, everything still lines up and the roll cage fits perfectly. And I was thinking, similarly to the famous Hemi underglass, have the same thing but do it on a Daytona. So you have a Daytona Hemi underglass. So I do have a Hemi engine that I'm likely going to be using on this that I still have yet to build up. So there's pretty much that on this kit. Then got, let's see, anything else of significance? Not that I can see of, but so pretty much this is going to be either built into a Daytona wheelie car, or just make this into a monster truck Daytona. So pretty much might try to see what I can do with this kit. Otherwise, everything else would just go straight to parts. But if stuff can be used, why not use it? So I'll go take a minute, clean all this up, and show you the contents on the Porsche. So here now we got the Porsche out, and this one here is a kit. It's quite an older kit, but with this one here, it's not as old as the Brooks Charger. Whereas this one here, that one was from 72. This one here, on the box says it's from 1979. See, not sure if that'll focus in. But apparently this was a Revell sub-series. Similarly, how now we got Revell Germany and Revell USA. Don't know a whole lot on these, but I do know there was possibly 5 others, which the only one I can think of right off the bat was a 31 Model A, if I'm remembering correctly, but not entirely sure on that. So here I've got the instructions, which are fairly decent sized, really. Got a couple pages. Nice folded pages with nicely laid out diagram of everything. And then on the bottom it does give you a bit of direction on where stuff goes, and then includes the part numbers as well as what the part is, which I can see where Revell has got their inspiration from on their newer kits, which I think all companies should be doing that, telling you what parts are which. Then the picture work on it is really nice. And then with the kit, these weren't from the kit, but these were what I found with the box. There's some old decals, which I'm thinking came off like a Doom buggy or something. It's got the license plates on here. Not entirely sure what this would have been from, but all I do know is it's from an AMT kit. And there's some printing here, which could mean that it was part of a sticker sheet, but not entirely certain on that. And then getting into what I've gotten done on this was earlier this year is wanting to work on some techniques on rotting out vehicles. So with this, I pretty much ended up cracking the front windshield, having it web out. Then the driver window here looks like that had fallen off the tracks and slid down. The rest of the windows are in decent shape. This has some glue residue to represent cobwebs. And then having the back window missing to make it seem like it was rolled down. Or it could have been that the window was taken out to replace it, but never got installed. So then also with this kit, with these styled kits, you could do it where you could take your knife and carve out the doors to have functioning opening doors. But I decided not to do it on mine, since I didn't have the experience or the confidence to do it. So yeah. But one thing I do like about it is that it has a decent glitter to it. How it's supposedly like a metallic metal flake blue. But it does have it with mold lines showing through, which is a bit unfortunate. But if you're just someone just to build it straight out of the box, wouldn't be that bad. And then have the interior that was already pre-built. Now on this kit here, it came in the box, I found an extra set of these old Revell styled 2-piece tires, which are interesting, but a little bit of a faff sometimes just to getting stuff to glue together properly. So, and they're hard because of over the years, they've turned into a hard plastic. And because of that, these do become quite brittle quite quickly. Like on this one tire set here, it's gotten chewed up a little bit. So that's one thing about old tires, that realistically you'd be better off just using a new set of tires. And then went around. The original copyright date for the vehicle itself is 1970, but this is a lot newer of a kit. And pretty basic, really. It is nice that it has folding seats, which can look good if you're trying to get into the back seat, or you have one seat faced up, have another one folded over to get into the back seats. Now, the one thing on my kit here is I ended up getting this used, so I didn't go through until about a couple years later, and there were a few pieces missing. Like on the other side, there's the wheel backing, and there's a wheel backing and a rim that was missing. Now, these may be similar to like a Krager style wheel, but because they're not the exact same style, I wasn't too fond of trying to use a completely different tire set just for the one tire. So pretty much end up having it where the car would be sitting on a junk tire, being held up, so that it'll seem like work's going to be getting done soon. And then what else have I got here? Yeah, and then got some other pieces that I haven't gotten off the tree branch yet. And people nowadays complain about having a lot of flashing, but it's been like that forever. Like on these glass pieces here, there's a bunch of extra plastic on the edges. So there's that. Plus, being hard molded, they do become rather brittle. Then one thing on the kit itself, it is nice that with the bumper, it has it where it's got raised protection, which is good, but it does make it a hassle trying to get inside, tripping them off. But with something like this, these are really handy if you say you're making a drift car and you want to have a radiator guard. Just trim these down, just trim these off, and then trim them down to size. So then you have supports for cross members, bumper guards, and such. Then get something like this that looks like it could be a control arm, but pretty much up to your creativity to decide what to do with the extra sprue trees. Then one thing I have found bizarre with this kit is, well, yeah, it's an older kit, but I'm surprised how there's no chrome-plated parts. So, for instance, like, got the Porsche plates here, which in a newer kit would have been chrome-plated instead of molded in this medium gray. So that's a little bit of an interesting factor. Got one of the bumpers here, which is incredibly thin. And there's a bit of flashing, which you want to be careful. You don't want to use it too sharp of a knife, or else you might cut the bumper pieces off. Then we got, I think that's the front bumper, I assume. It seems like it's the front bumper. That's also molded in a nice blue, which looks really nice. Then we got the engine here that I did get built up. I did get the engine built up here, originally planning on weathering it up to make it like it's been sitting out forever. Why I left the engine out is so that I could have just the bare bone chassis, and then have the engine, for instance, sitting on one of the extra tires. Sitting on the tire looks like it's being serviced on just above the ground, or it could be rebuilt, just ready to go in, but hasn't had the opportunity yet. Or, because then otherwise, in the back here, there's the locating mount in a cross pattern, which can be seen, which will just fit in like so. Of course, glue it in. So yeah, and then along with it a little bit is that because this was a started build, someone did start building it. The glue has become really brittle and likes to fall apart really easily. So, if anything, I might just glue a bunch of this stuff back together again, and keep with my original plan of just making a junker build out of it, as I wouldn't be exactly interested in rebuilding it exactly to stock, but it's going to be much more efficient than to look on things like eBay to look for stuff. So that's pretty much that on the chassis. And then got extra parts here like the rear bumper, the hood lid, which fits right on through. Which probably when I get around to building it, I'm just gonna have it where the hood's propped open to give you a look inside to the engine bay of the missing engine. So with the combination of the cars sitting on the tire, and the engine out of the vehicle, that'll probably be good for a diorama of sorts. So it's pretty much that. And then what else have we got here? Got the colorful struts, which probably for the rear, but not sure if I'm going to have the motivation to get these installed, as being in a nice dark blue, I'll probably want to use these on another build, since we wouldn't have to paint these up and just use them as they are. And then we got the intake on the top here. So when I get around to it, probably just work on painting some of this stuff up, weathering it out, make it look more like a barn find than a vehicle that was in decent shape, that was decommissioned for engine repair, but ended up becoming in disrepair shortly after. Yeah. Then got some random parts thrown in here. Like, here's the headlight bezel. And then we do have some parts here. At first I was thinking these were from the Brooks Charger, but I realized these were parts from a built vehicle that I had that had a supercharged Hemi in it that I ended up using for parts. So, if anything, this did end up becoming a little bit of a parts box. So, there's pretty much all of that for the Porsche. Yeah, so yeah. Now I'm going to be linking I'm going to link the video of earlier this month, seeing if anyone else is interested in any other kits that I might have that I'd be more than happy to show off. So that'll probably do it for this video, and then so yeah, check out the video from earlier this month. We'll see which ones you're interested in, you the viewers, see which ones you're interested in, and then when I get around to it, I'm going to be taking a look through it. So yeah, I think that'll do it for this video, and until next time, see ya.